Well, I gotta confess that I told a little fib. Really wasn't a fib when I told it, I just changed my mind. I was gonna do the inside just like I did the outside, but you know, in thinking about it, I've already showed you how to do a lap. So this is an opportunity to show you how to do one continuous piece of fiberglass on the inside of the boat. So that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, it's fairly simple. It's just a little bit different technique, but I have an opportunity to show you both ways, so I might as well do that. But first, let me show you where we're at right now. We've got on the inside of this boat, we've painted the inside with the saturation coat, so we don't have to worry about that. And also, I told you I was going to put a strip down the middle that was about 5 inches wide, and I've done that. And you can see here that I'm going up over the inner skeg piece, and down on the other end of the boat there, I go up over the stem a little bit. So essentially, you know, I've got a 5-inch strip that goes from skeg to stem, giving me a little bit more strength in the center of the boat where the strips met, because that's obviously going to be the weakest point. So that should take care of that. So then it's just a matter of pulling up the cloth. I use these little spring clamps here to hold it up. And we're going to pour some fiberglass and wet it out. Now, you know, I'm not going to show you every second of doing this because you're already seeing how to put fiberglass down. So we'll show you some segments, but when it comes time to cut the ends, that's when we're going to slow down a little bit so I can show you how to do both of those things. Okay, well, let's start mixing some epoxy and we'll wet this cloth out. Now, I am not going to do the transom in one piece with the rest of the boat. It's just too difficult, too messy, just not worth the effort when I can just piece that in later, okay? All right, so before we can start mixing up some epoxy, we've got to get this cloth pretty much in the place where we want it. And I'm not a big fan of cutting cloth until it absolutely needs to be cut. And that's because I always get into trouble when I do that. I always end up an inch short. So I'm just gonna drape it up here, and we'll take care of cutting that excess off as we get closer. But what you won't, you know, just like on the outside, we're gonna start here in the middle, work up and out, up and out, up and out, pulling the cloth down towards the ends and up towards the gunnels, or the shear line, because there are no gunnels. So really all you're trying to do now is, you know, pretty much work out any big wrinkles or any big kinks. Make sure that your cloth goes from one side to the other, and that you're not going to be pulling it down towards the boat. In other words, give it a little bit of excess in there. You can pull it up as you go, because you don't want to be fighting the cloth, pushing it down to the boat, because it's just, the cloth's going to win. It's going to pull back up again. All right, so I've pretty much got this cloth in here the way I want it down here in the stems. It's messy, and it's going to be messy until I get down closer, and that's when I'll start to take care of it down here. But for right now, I'm just kind of evening it out as much as I can, stuff it in the corner, and then as I get down to about here, I'll start to deal with all of this, cutting it out. All right, I'm going to mix some epoxy up and we'll start to get this cloth laid. Okay, well, I've gone about as far as I can go here without making some decisions. And I decided that I'm going to take care of this side first, and then I'll take care of that side. So I need to cut. I got a couple of spring clamps up there to hold the cloth in place so it doesn't collapse on me. And down here in the corner, I'm having a hard time getting a little bubble going on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this rotary razor. You can take a straight razor if you want. I just find the rotary is a little bit easier. And I'm going to cut from right about here all the way up to the top. So to do that, I first need to get it pretty much laid in where it's going to go. Now the good news is we got our patches going across here, so it's not mission critical. But you do want to get it nice and clean and as tight as you can. And then just let the razor take care of the rest. Let me get up top there. I'll grab a pair of scissors and cut that. Okay. I'm hoping I got a decent cut there. Looks pretty good. A couple of places where it's a little light. Yeah, good. Excellent. All right, so now I can just fold this back out of the way. Lie this down in there. And rotary razor is going to probably cost you about 25, 30 bucks for a decent one. And I think I just showed you why it's worth it. Because it makes this job a whole lot easier. If you don't know what a rotary razor blade is, go to your nearest sewing store, because they use it for cutting things like quilt squares and so on and so forth. All right, so there's one, and I'm pretty happy with it. Okay, so pull that back out of the way. I'll lay this one up in here now. And hopefully get a similar cut. Okay. Now be careful and make sure you keep your upper limits here. This is why I don't like cutting it off too early, because this is where it always comes up short on me. Not too bad this time. I guess I can patch that in, but I still managed to come up a little bit short. Okay. So what I'm going to do to make this a little bit easier to work with is cut some of this off. And then lay this in here. Okay. Again, I'm going to grab the rotary razor here. Lay this down as flat as I can. And cut right down the stem. There we go. That gives me a line. I can now just take my scissors and cut where the razor didn't get. There. Okay, pretty clean. Should do the job just fine. I'll get some of these little hairs out of here. Okay, and you just glass one side, flip the other one in, and glass it. So why don't I do that right now? Okay, well this is a real hustle job because it's warm and the middle part of the boat's already drying. So we're gonna move right along here, and then we're all done. I'll talk to you about a couple of different places here. I have split this cloth up to about 1.5 inches past where the inner bed is there for the deadwood. So that allows me to get through the two sides there, right? So I'll just put that down inside the fillet that we have there. So I've split that all the way up to here, and now I'm just going to finish the job with a pair of scissors here. All right. There we go. All right. Making sure that I stay up here at the shear line. I don't want to lose that. There we go. And so now I need to trim a little bit of this off to get it out of my way. And let's see if that rotary tool will work right up the side there. And there we go. Worth its weight in gold. Nice clean cut. All right, we gotta keep moving along. One thing that you did not see while we were doing this, because there's only so much we can do while we're filming here, is we didn't just do the middle and go that way. Every now and then we did a few inches down here to make sure that the edge of the cloth didn't dry, and that's really, really important, especially on a hot night like tonight. It's drying real quick. So every 15, 20 minutes we come down here and do a few inches, so that the edges of the cloth continues to stay damp. And now we'll just go ahead and we'll finish this out. So I'm going to cut the other side just like I cut this side, and then we'll epoxy this, and then we'll go around and do our little touch-ups. But so far looking pretty good. Well, that's it. I got to tell you, it's a real hustle. Took 3 hours to do the inside of this boat. If you're going to do it, I'd recommend having a couple of hands. Somebody that can, grab your paper towels, mix a new batch of epoxy, somebody you trust that can mix it right, and somebody else spreading with you. That'll make it go a lot quicker. Probably turn it into about a 2-hour job. This boat, as I got down to this end, the middle was almost dry, or at least tack-free. So you really got to move, and you got to move quick. All that being said, had I not had the camera on and was attempting to show you how to do a boat in one piece, a boat of this size, I probably would have done in 2 pieces. Just because it's more relaxing, it's a little bit easier, and you don't have to hustle quite as much. But for those of you who want to try to get it done all in one shot, that's how you do it. You just got to split the front, split the back, and then if you find when it's all done that you didn't come over as much as you may have wanted to, then you simply put one strip of patch right down the middle there, and then do the same thing. Now we already have pieces going up and down the stem, so unless you really came up short, you should be fine up there. You should have seen me using my gloved hands to move epoxy up in the corner. That's the best way to do it when you get into a tight boat. You can only use the spreader so much. So, take your gloved hand, move it, massage it into the glass, and then, the trick is not to leave too much epoxy in there. You're going to find that it's going to run down the stem as it starts to dry and puddle up towards the end of the stem. So keep an eye on that. Don't be in a rush to leave the shop real quick after you go ahead and epoxy that. You want to spend, about 45 minutes to an hour. Get yourself a drink, talk to some friends, do whatever it takes, but, stick around for a while. Make sure nothing bubbles up, make sure that all your edges up top are taken care of, and make sure if there are any globs running down to the end of that thing, you take care of that, and the same thing up here as well. All in all, I'm pretty happy with it. So where do we go from here? Well, we need to let this dry. I got some scarf joints I need to do, and then we're going to put the outer gunnels on. We still need to do a small patch of fiberglass here on the transom. Then we put the inner gunnels on, and then we start to deck it out with seats and decks, and we're getting real close to going towards the water with this one. So I'm gonna get out of here, I'm gonna let this dry, and then we'll come back and start all over again.